Hey, it's Ted McGrath. Welcome to today's show. I'm going to break down Strategy's new offerings today for about $500 million of their new preferred offering. We're going to talk about the Fed meeting tomorrow that's coming up. Is it bullish or is it bearish? And we're going to get into see what is Strategy doing moving forward, and why does MSTR's overall strategy make a lot of sense. And we're also going to get into why some articles and some people think that what MicroStrategy is doing is it's way too bullish what they're doing, and they're taking too much risk. And is it going to collapse the company? So let's take a look at what is happening and get into the excitement right now. I'm going to jump in and share some different articles with you here so you can see what's being published today. All right. So this is an interesting one here. Where we've got Strategy's new offering here, okay? New stock offering poised to supercharge Bitcoin accumulation. So here's what happens. Strategy's unleashing a 5 million share stock offering, strengthening its Bitcoin war chest. So this is actually a new stock offering. So if you haven't heard of this yet, it's different than its STRK strike offering, which was paying an 8% fixed dividend. This one is called STRF, Strife. And so they just announced today, and you'll see the announcement here, March 18th, plans to offer 5 million shares of its newly introduced Series A perpetual Strife preferred stock. Okay. So that's exciting. New offerings coming in the marketplace. And, if you've been following Saylor throughout the year, he's been talking about Strategy being this kind of company that's going to offer products in the marketplace. In 2024, we were looking at a company that was offering up issuing shares for common stock and doing convertible notes. And look at what they've come out with recently, STRK, which is more of a fixed instrument for investors that want less volatility. And he's also come out with STRF, which is also more of a fixed instrument. Although it pays 10%, as you see here, a fixed annual cumulative dividend of 10%. I'll zoom in on this so you can see it. Oops, we just got sideballed over here. So let me get rid of this here. Oh, hold on. We just got whacked out of here. One sec. Give me a sec to get back. So while I am getting back in the game here to see you, because we just got knocked out, the main thing that I'm sharing with you right now is it's pretty cool news to see that there are some new offerings coming out. And so this new offering in particular is the goal is to pay a 10% dividend out to the shareholders of this. The cool thing is with these new products is they are issuing these new products that are not going to dilute us as common shareholders and are not going to dilute the stock. So this is very good news from my viewpoint that they're coming out with new products. Clearly, the price is still where the price is at, but it's always cool to see new things that are happening in the marketplace. We also got, let's take a look at somebody who's giving bearish news on this. So you take a look at different perspectives. Analyst warns MicroStrategy's $500 million Bitcoin buy could bring the next bear market. So with this new product, Strife, that they just issued, this analyst is saying that it could bring a bear market, quote unquote. And here's the basic idea behind this. It pays 10% annually. And this person's saying, you'll see a post here by this guy, Whale Panda. I've said it before that Saylor is going to bring the next Bitcoin bear market. This seems desperate. 10% dividend on 500 million translates to 50 million annually. I don't know who Whale Panda is, just happens to be in this article. But what I would say in a rebuttal to this is that I believe with what MicroStrategy is doing, that when you look at these traditional vehicles that pension companies or pension funds, insurance companies will typically invest in, they're investing in more conservative fixed products that can turn a 4%, 5% rate of return. And so when you look at Strategy's game plan to issue these new products like Strike and like Strife that they just did today, they are more aggressive in what they can pay out on a fixed basis. And if you compare the old world of the S&P world, that on average the S&P does 14% a year, and then you compare it to the Bitcoin world, where Bitcoin, if you think it's going to average 30 or 40 or 50% over the next 4 years, you're looking at a completely different strategy in a completely new world. You have the old world of people living in the S&P as the standard for finance. And you have the new world of strategy that has a completely different strategy of acquiring Bitcoin. So when you have comments like this person who just made that, how is Saylor going to pay this, and how is strategy going to pay 8% and 10% out on these products? Well, I believe because we're in a new world. And if they're holding Bitcoin on their balance sheet, which is going to return 30, 40, or 50% a year, versus the old financial standard and old industry that people are basing things off the S&P 500. If you do 14%, you're doing well. You're comparing two totally separate worlds. So it would make sense in fixed instruments in the old world of the S&P, people who live in the traditional finance world, that you would pay out 4%. But in the new world, it makes sense that you would pay out 8% or 10%, especially if the benchmark has been do 14% on your money and you're doing great. And the new benchmark with Bitcoin is like do 30% on your money, do 40%, do 50%, and you're doing great. Now, of course, the returns will level out for Bitcoin in the future over time as it becomes more of a stable and more stable asset. But if you compare the two right now over the next 4 years, we're looking at averages way, way higher than the S&P 500. So, of course, MicroStrategy, or strategy, I should say, is going to come out with new products. It only makes sense. And, of course, they're going to pay higher than traditional products pay to these companies that are interested in investing in fixed products. Like, where are large insurance companies that typically invest in bonds and real estate going to put their money now? Where are pension funds going to put their money now? They're looking towards products like strategy, as the White House is looking towards Bitcoin as the future and is adopting it, as nations are adopting Bitcoin, as states are adopting Bitcoin. As Wayne Gretzky used to say, you skate to where the puck is going, not where it's at. These old financial products are not the ones that most people are going to be investing in 5 years, 10 years. It's products like strategy. So I think what they're doing is super cool. They just came out with Strife STRF, which means they're going to issue it, get $500 million, and use that $500 million to buy more Bitcoin. Pretty cool, right? The majority of it for more Bitcoin. Some of it is working capital for their actual company. So that's pretty freaking cool, wouldn't you say? I think it's cool, right? What else we got? Let's take a look at some news coming with the Fed here. So news on the Fed. Floodgates open, Bitcoin and crypto brace for a huge Fed price flip. So Bitcoin has been stuck in a holding pattern in the recent weeks. The price, as we know, has dropped from 110,000 to 80,000. This article says that despite Russia leaking, that it's quietly leaning into Bitcoin, we still have Bitcoin that's low. We also know, despite the crypto reserve or the Bitcoin reserve being announced, crypto is still low in a holding pattern. But it may be possible that the Fed is about to step in, as you see here, and stabilize the markets, potentially triggering a Bitcoin price boom. Now, the news is that the Fed is probably not going to cut rates, and they're probably not going to cut rates tomorrow in the meeting that's going to happen tomorrow. But there's other news that I've been reading out there that shows that the Fed is turning dovish. And when they use the word dovish, that is good, because that means that they're lowering interest rates. So if they lower interest rates, it may not be this time, but if they're turning dovish and the policy is moving towards lowering interest rates, that's going to be good for a crypto boom. That's going to be good to help the market stabilize so that the stock market can go up. And hopefully that is on the horizon. So we know that in prior Fed meetings, they've announced good news, and we've seen the market hit the fan and go to shit. So we never know what's going to happen from these announcements. But you can imagine how the markets are turning and reeling and spinning right now, because the Fed is about to give their big announcement, right? Who knows, right? Maybe one day the Fed won't have such influence, or will have maybe a more favorable leadership, let's just call it, in the Fed. Okay, so we got that. If you want to break down Strategy's recent preferred stock and you want to take a look at this, I was just showing this. But just to break it down and to get a little bit more detailed into this, They did offer 5 million shares of Strife. It's not Strike, so it's totally different than the one they just came out with, which is STRK, which is like a $21 billion plan with that. And apparently of Strike, and this is not here that you're seeing in the article, but from what I've read, there's already $700 million that is outstanding for Strike, meaning that's already been that Strike has inflowed as they announced that new product, which is more of a fixed product. And now we have Strife coming out, which is going to have inflows of potentially $500 million with this new offering. Okay. So pretty cool what they're doing. As you see here, 10% annually is the goal. The maximum that it can get up to is 18% per year. If they don't pay their dividends on a quarterly basis and it stacks up, it'll eventually go to 18% payout. So that is it. And so the company would take a potential $50 million annual dividend obligation because they're going to be issuing $500 million. So at a 10% dividend, that's $50 million that they'll be paying out. So one of the other articles earlier was like concerned that they won't be able to meet their obligations. I don't think that's true at all. I think Saylor knows what he's doing. He's obviously sitting at the table with some of the most powerful people in the world. He's sitting at the table and he's probably advising the strategic Bitcoin reserve behind the scenes. And we know he's sitting publicly at some of these tables as well. So he knows what he's doing. He knows what's coming. Clearly, we haven't seen that reflected in the price yet because we saw Bitcoin drop to like 81,000 today. We saw MicroStrategy go down. I saw it go as low as 278. It closed at about 283 today. So that's where we're at. We saw a nice run earlier in the week where it went up to 297. I'd like to see it break the 300 range. As I was looking at some technical analysis recently, if it starts to break the 318 range, MicroStrategy, and hits that 318 range and we can break through that, that will be more bullish for MicroStrategy. We have not hit that range recently. I think it's been about a month since we've been at 320 or so in that range. And so we are sitting below 300 and we have been for a couple weeks now. So that is the basic news of what's going on. Let's see if I have any other data that I can bring in for you on what's going on here. See if I showed this to you already. I already showed you this, but this shows you how many articles are out there. This is big news. MicroStrategy plans major stock sale to fuel Bitcoin buying spree. So same thing I just shared with you, raise $500 million with proceeds primarily directed towards purchasing more Bitcoin. So it pays fixed dividends, 10% annually, quarterly payments. And so this is the big thing that you want to know here, right? And this is what's important. We saw in 2024 that the dilution of shares was not good in the market. It says that this structure allows strategy to raise capital without diluting voting power for common shareholders. And if you've seen the MNAV recently, and we saw that when Saylor was issuing, issuing stock, and people were buying it, and it was diluting the common shares, we saw that the sentiment wasn't great, and so we saw the MNAV go down. And so recently, as he's been not issuing common stock and he's been issuing these new financial products like STRK and STRF, and who knows what the heck else he'll come out with, it's not diluting the shares, which is good. And we've seen the MNAV go up to about 1.8. So this is good news. It's moving in the right direction. And that's what I wanted to update you on today. So if you have any questions, put them in the comment box. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that. I'm releasing videos every couple days now. I was on break for about 2 weeks, but I'm back in the game. So I'm going to bring you updated news and what's going on. How do I think FASB will affect MicroStrategy is a good question from Davin. I mean, the most recent that I read is that it's going to add $12.5 billion to their balance sheet. So once that happens, I got to imagine that's good for the stock, especially when they come out with their earnings reports, right? So I think that'll be really good for the stock. We also know that, the potential for strategy to get on the S&P 500 would be a big move also. Whether it's going to happen coming up or whether we're going to have to wait another quarter for that to happen, we don't know. We'll see soon, but that would be a big deal for strategy as well. The S&P 500, FASB will be a big deal. The indicators are pointing in the right direction. So it's got to make you ask, are we just in a place where the price is being kept down intentionally? I know there's fear in the markets. I know that the stock market is dropping. I know that that's not good for just the economy in general and people's fear level in general. But this thing's got to lift off soon. And the charts, if you watched my video previously, some of my other videos, I showed some of the charts a couple days ago that we are nowhere near the peak. And the chart was showing previous bull markets where when we hit a 7 range on the chart, it was rated from 1 to 10. When we would hit a 7 range, we were at a peak. And in every bull market that we've had in the past, we crossed through the 7 range. And only after we crossed through the 7 range did we have a correction to drop back down and stay back down. And so in every bull market, it's happened. And we are in like the 2 range right now. We're so low. So we have not hit the bull market yet. We have not gone on the hyperbolic bull run. And it feels like we're kind of like teetering on a bear or a bull here. I still think we're in a bull run, although we haven't hit the stride of the bull run yet. But I still think 2025 is going to be a big year. Okay. And then if you haven't seen it, you can go watch my previous video on price predictions that I did 2 days ago, because it gives you a real map based on graphs and statistics and charts, and then shows you what could happen if Bitcoin goes to 150, what could happen to MicroStrategy if Bitcoin goes to 180, what happens if it goes to 204,000, what happens if Bitcoin goes to 480,000. Although that is like a dreaming price, that for me is a prediction that I think is going to happen 3-4 years into the future, not something that's going to happen this year. But it's a good analysis to break it down for you to decide on, where you're invested and how it's going to impact you. Okay. Not financial advice in this video, not tax advice, not legal advice, just here sharing some information. Got to make sure I put it on the screen here for you. But hope it serves you. And then I will see you guys in the next video. Stay well. Have a phenomenal night. Keep the faith on the future of what's happening here. Keep the faith on MicroStrategy. All good indicators. Good things are on the horizon. I know the price is hovering and it's kind of like stuck and wedged in, and nobody wants that. But let's all agree that a breakout's going to come soon. The more positivity, the more agreement people have to Bitcoin being a good thing, the better it is for the markets. Okay. So hope it serves you, and see you guys on the other side.